everyone, and welcome back to episode 34 of my F1 2016 career mode, episode 4 of my new Sauber career mode. And guys, I'm going to try something a bit different today. If you guys want to go check out the first 3 races of this season, go click on the links showing up now, and also the playlist link will be there on the bottom right hand side. But anyway guys, as you can see, we're currently standing in P12 overall in the championship after those 4 points we scored at Australia. Last couple of races after that, we've just missed out the points. We've been pretty much around P12. I think we scored P12 and P13 if I'm not mistaken in the last 2 rounds. But today on to Russia, and actually a track that I like quite a lot on this game. It's actually the track I got my first win in Formula 1 on this game with Force India in Season 1 there. It was actually a pretty incredible win. If I do say so myself, Vijay Mallya was very, very happy. I doubt we're going to be able to, give off that same feat again today, but you never know what might happen. But as you can see, coming to the end of our track acclimatization lap, we are actually just going to scrape purple there by 20 points. That was pretty impressive. Now moving on to my qualifying simulation lap, as we can see, just up a little bit, we're about 2 tenths up, just under, and coming into these final couple of corners, we're really just going to push it, try and get it close to the purple lap time, and coming into the final corners, you can see, really pushing the car to the limits, and we get the green time there, and that was really, really good. Obviously, I'm going to now look at the leaderboard overall from that session, and this doesn't really give them enough detail, I won't lie. As you can see, we got P12 there, which was very strong. Obviously, we got Carlos Sainz just ahead of me on the medium tyres, which was a very, very strong lap from him. As you can see, we got both Mercedes there and a Red Bull that also opted to go on the medium tyres. But I'm going to look at the R&D that we gained. Maybe we might be able to get an upgrade in at the end of the session, obviously ready for Spain next time out. We've got 521 resource points there, which is actually very, very good. I'm very, very happy with that. But now we've also got a new rival. My engineer lady, my sponsorship lady or whatnot, has come across me to tell me that I've got a new rival, and that is Romain Grosjean in the Haas. They're 7th in the Constructors, he's 11th in the driver standings, just 1 point ahead of me, so he is my new rival in this F1 2016 Sauber career mode. But I'm going to look at the upgrades. We're going to have a look at upgrading the downforce, the front wing turning, is that the turning valves? I'm pretty certain it says there. I can't read it on that small screen, I'm sorry. But there we go then guys, we have made that upgrade. Hopefully now we'll be a little bit closer to Renault as we are starting to pull away from Haas. But now moving on into qualifying, as you can see, it was a very, very damp qualifying session. It was one of those ones where it was raining a lot in some phases of the session, and it was basically just who got lucky about who timed their quali lap the best, almost if you will. But coming towards the end of our lap, we go up into P9 ahead of Felipe Massa there, which I thought was going to be a very, very strong lap. I thought that was going to be good enough to get me into Q2. But now, as we can see at the end of the session here, we actually didn't make Q2 there, guys. Unfortunately, we were out at the end of Q1. That's the 2nd time in a row we've not managed to make it into Q2. We just missed out P18 there, unfortunately. My main rival now, Romain Grosjean, managed to get through, but we still out-qualified my teammate there with Marcus Ericsson. But so disappointed, guys, that we didn't make it into Q2 there. I think it was Daniel Ricciardo took the provisional pole, if you will, of that session by quite a big margin there, guys. Obviously, he might be looking very, very strong at this Grand Prix. But talking about the Grand Prix then, guys, let's move on then into the Russian Grand Prix.
Welcome one and all to the Russian Grand Prix. We're just a stone's throw from the Georgian border here at Sochi as we get ready to begin the race that served up an absolute cracker back in 2015. A last lap collision between Kimi Raikkonen and Valtteri Bottas sparked controversy in that race, so let's hope the racing is just as tight today. Built on the shores of the Black Sea, the Sochi Autodrome is a 3.6-mile tour around some of the venues built for the 2014 Winter Olympic Games. Close barriers may make overtakes more challenging, but with 56% of the lap taken absolutely flat out, we certainly won't be wanting for pure speed. A fitting arena then to do battle at the pinnacle of motorsport. And alongside me to take you through, well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and P2 goes to Daniel Ricciardo, a strong showing from the Australian. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Rosberg, Kimi Raikkonen and Verstappen, Bottas, Hülkenberg, Perez and Felipe Massa, Button, Alonso, Romain Grosjean and Sainz, Kvyat, Palmer, Esteban Gutierrez and a Sauber, Ericsson and Wehrlein, Kevin Magnussen and Rio Haryanto completes the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So here we are then, guys, on the grid, ready for the Russian Grand Prix. It's going to be a very, very easy one-stop race here today, guys. The tyre wear just around Russia is basically non-existent, I won't lie. You know, you can pretty much get about 10 laps into this 13-lap race, I would have thought, on the set Super Softs. But obviously, it'll be trying to maximise the amount of grip you've got in every stint. Obviously, you don't want to be pitting too early every time, but also you don't want to be pitting too late, because obviously with how little tyre wear there is around here, as I was saying, there is really no need to risk trying to stretch the tyre set far too long in a session, because it's always just going to cost you time over the guys behind you. But as you can see, obviously, as I said, it's an easy one-stop race. There's going to be no rain as well. We're actually going to opt to run the stock fuel there, not even bothering to change that. Obviously, we want a little bit of rich in the car so we can get past cars down the straights. But here we are then on the formation lap. We're probably going to skip forward from this lap very, very shortly. Esteban Gutierrez, the car just ahead of us with my teammate just behind us. I'm kind of worrying a little bit about turn 1 here, because turn 1 around Russia, I mean proper, the king at turn 1, always sparks up a little bit of accidents on this game. Obviously, it never really happened in real life, but obviously we'll have to wait and see. On the grid now for the Russian Grand Prix, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And away we go for the Grand Prix there. We get off to a very good start there. Carlos Sainz bogs down massively, as well as his teammates. Julian Palmer jumps both of them there almost straight away. But coming into turn 1 is because Esteban Gutierrez makes contact with Carlos Sainz there. And that is Carlos Sainz straight around. My teammate is already out of the Grand Prix there. And we've already got yellow flags. 2 cars are already out of the race. And we're going to have to straight away go have a look at what happened there, as Esteban Gutierrez just turned in far too early there into the corner. Let's have a look from Carlos Sainz's point of view. This is going to be what I'm guessing is quite a big crash there. But looking into turn 1, it actually looked like it was Kvyat's fault, as he just didn't give either car enough room there. Very much just a racing incident, but Carlos Sainz and my teammate Marcus Ericsson got the full grunt of it there. As we can see, Sainz goes straight backwards there and actually catches, I'm pretty certain that's me just behind him there. I narrowly avoid the contact there, but the Mana goes straight into the side of him, and that puts him straight into the path of my teammate. Tyre on tyre accident there, just the Sauber goes right up, and my teammate there just instantly rips off the wheel. We've also got another little crash behind there as the Mana of, I think that's Pascal Wehrlein, good, just the Renault of, I think that is, who's that? In the Kevin Magnussen there, just doesn't give him enough room on the inside. So that's meant we've had 2 crashes there. As you can see, Carlos Sainz getting scooped up right onto the front there. And that is an absolutely huge crash there. As you can see, he rips off his wheel as well. My teammate lost both front wheels there, so that was an absolutely humongous crash. But here we are then on board Kevin Magnussen. As we can see, he chops in on the Mana of Pascal Wehrlein there, and that's actually not been such a major crash there. Pascal Wehrlein loses part of his front wing there. As we can see, just sparks are absolutely everywhere there, guys. We can see, I'm going to look from the Mana, the other Mana point of view. As you can see, there's me just narrowly avoiding the collision there, as Carlos Sainz is now facing backwards. He's completely out of control of his car. There's nothing he's going to be able to do. The rear end gets scooped up there. He collides with the wall, makes another huge crash with my teammate there, and that's the one that ends up costing him his race, although he was basically out of the session already there. As we can see, just having a look now from the third person, Esteban Gutierrez then closing in far too early, spins him around. As I said, luckily out of the way. The Mana makes contact with him. My teammate then makes contact with him. He's already out of the Grand Prix there as he makes contact with him again. As we've got Renault there, as well as the other Manas coming and taking out my teammate. So that has been an absolutely humongous crash there, guys. The Mana somehow escapes from that fairly unscathed. Well, both Manas somehow escaped that fairly unscathed. But now we're back into green flags as we move back past Danny Kvyat there. But we've got a few drivers that are miles behind him. We're already down to 20 runners in this Grand Prix, and we've barely made 2 corners. Nearly as big a crash as we saw in the real Grand Prix here. But now looking at Esteban Gutierrez, are we going to be able to make a position back from him up into P15 very, very shortly? As we can see just a couple of corners later, coming down towards the double left-hander, we're going to have a look up the inside, and we move up into P15 Grand Prix. Don't give him much space on the exit there, but obviously we're not here to make friends, we're here to make positions. Hoping, you know, maybe today we could still score points if it all runs smoothly for myself. But in all honesty, with the way qualifying went, I didn't have a lot of motivation. I wasn't feeling too optimistic about this Grand Prix. But now moving on to lap 2, closing on Julian Palmer. We've got a very, very good setup here. Obviously, I run all setups in this season, just so the Sauber, you know, it doesn't lose so much time as it probably would. But looking into turn 1 here, right behind Julian Palmer, are we going to be able to maximise our run through the long turn 3? We're going to have a look around the outside. We're not going to shift up into 7th gear, just making sure we get the turn in and up into the inside into turn 4 here. We're just not going to turn in as much on the exit turn 3, and we move up into P14 now of the Grand Prix. So we're making good positions, we're making positions up fast here, but it's where we want to pit that's going to be a really crucial part of this Grand Prix, obviously with pit stops being so crucial around here. But now moving on to the back straight of lap 2, and we're now right behind Roman Grosjean here, but he looks like he's going to have a good run on Jenson Button as well. So we've got all three of us converging on each other. Roman Grosjean's going to have a look up the inside of Button, we're going to have a look up the inside into the next corner, we go 3 wide into the corner there, somehow don't make contact there, and we move up into P12 there. We've got yellow flags out, as now Roman Grosjean is out of the Grand Prix there, no idea what's happened to him. We're going to have to look at that, as now we've already got 3 cars out in the first 2 laps as we move up into P12 of the Grand Prix here. But let's just have a look then at what happened to Roman Grosjean that's coming down into the kink. As you can see, he's right up squeezed against the wall, so did he make contact with Button there? And that's what cost him. As you can see, he just makes a bit of contact with Button there, gets the back end out, and the Renault tags him there. And that is Jolyon Palmer has completely taken Roman Grosjean out of the race. Nothing of Palmer's fault though, there's no denying that. Grosjean just got out of shape as he made contact with Jenson Button there. But that has been another big crash there. As you can see, another driver is now at the Grand Prix. But now coming on into the final couple of corners and moving on now onto lap 4. We'd basically been holding up the guys behind me, so I decided it would be now the time we could make a good pit stop. Hoping, we could jump some of the AI up ahead of us. But we'll have to wait and see as we move on to a set of what's probably going to be the soft tyres here. As I was saying at the start of the race, guys, tyre wear is basically non-existent around this track. So hoping, that we can be able to make up some good positions in the second half of this Grand Prix. 8 laps to go on this set of soft tyres. It was a fairly early pit stop. It was quite a big gamble, but a fairly average pit stop there for the Sauber crew. A 2.9 second stop. Nothing too special there, I won't lie, but as we can see, we get a little bit fiddly with the wheel on the exit of the pit lane there. Actually, guys, I forgot to mention, this is the first race I'm doing with my new Thrustmaster TMX in the Sauber career mode, guys. Obviously, I've made a few videos on it on other races, but yeah, this was the first video I made with this new wheel, and overall, guys, it was still feeling very, very strong. But as we can see, now moving on to lap 6 here, are we going to be able to make up any positions? We're going to move back up into P16 as we've got the homeboy Danny Kvyat comes out the pit lane there, and we move up into P16 here as we get a little bit of contact with the wall as we get caught over the curb, and that spat the back end out a little bit. But now moving on to the start of lap 7 here, we're going to be able to make a couple more positions up into P14 there as we move past Jolyon Palmer. But now onto lap 9 here, we're going to make one more position up into P13 there, so we've lost out a position overall from the start, well, from when we made our pit stops there, which I wasn't too surprised about, as Max Verstappen is having a torrid day at P12. But now moving into the proper turn 1 there, we absolutely miss our braking point there and have to completely bail out the corner there. That gained us a bit of time, guys, but we tried keeping it so we were on the left-hand side of the bollard like Bernie Ecclestone made the rule in the real Grand Prix here. But now, as you can see, we're down in P13. It's not looking too strong at this stage of the Grand Prix. Points are basically off the cards here, so we have, we can take home P13. And just kind of hoping, we can stay roughly where we are. But now on lap 10, we've actually got Danny Kvyat now piling on the pressure. He's had a pretty poor day out. I think he'd be aiming to score points at his home Grand Prix here. But he's now having a look up the inside into this next right-hander. He runs a little bit wide onto my line there as we have a look around the outside. But coming into the next corner, are we going to be able to make a move up the inside into the double left-hander? We both fight for our ground here, as you can see. But coming now down the back straight, Danny Kvyat just makes a huge amount of contact. He takes a huge swipe at me there. And we've actually made a crash with Esteban Gutierrez. And Palmer's coming to the back of me there. So we've been getting warnings for all of that, as Danny Kvyat just took an absolute swipe at me there. We got virtual safety car right now as well, but no idea what Kvyat was thinking there. He just completely swiped at me, and that took 4 more cars, including himself, into cataclysmic problems here, as you can see. Just really not turning out to be our Grand Prix. As you can see, we've lost our front wing. We're going to have to make a pit stop before the end of the Grand Prix. And that basically just summed up this Russian Grand Prix weekend, guys. I won't lie. It was kind of a bit of a disappointment there that we aren't able to just make up positions, but there's been so many big crashes this race. Somehow nobody was actually out from that final instant there. I was quite surprised after we had 3 very big hits there that we didn't actually end up retiring from the race there. Like, we didn't rip off a wheel or anything. Obviously, it's not under my control, but now we're going to have to dive into the pit lane, guys, for our second stop of the Grand Prix. I'm kind of hoping that's our last of the races. We completely bottle the pit entry there, as you can see just how little downforce we have on the front end there. But coming into the pits now, obviously moving back onto a set of super soft tyres. Maybe it's a good chance, for us to get fastest lap of the race, but I highly doubt so, with how many quick AI are at the front of the grid. But making our final pit stop here, as you can see, they're having struggles bringing off the right-left tyre there, but that will make the front left tyre, the right-left tyre, that doesn't make any sense. But now the virtual safety car has come to an end. We set an 8.5 second pit stop there. We're down into P16. I think we might drop one more position. There is someone looking on the outside of the track. Kevin Magnussen is going to be able to jump us as well, I think, there, guys. So down into P17 of the Grand Prix there. And this just really has not been our day, as we can see. Now moving on to the end of the race. We're actually on the set of soft tyres there. Not really sure why we went on to another set of softs. But coming into the final couple of corners of the Grand Prix there, guys. Never really been our day. It was a bit disappointing that it wasn't. Completely bottling the final couple of corners here, as we right up behind Julian Palmer there. We take home P17 in the Russian Grand Prix. My worst result so far of the season. Unfortunately, there is we actually still made up positions from our quali, which really does say a lot after we saw so many DNFs in that early stages. Toto Wolff once again very happy with whatever Mercedes has been able to done there. I'm not too sure who actually won that race. It was Nico Rosberg in the end. He takes home a valiant win there. I think that's his second win of the season, as I'm pretty certain he took a win out either at Bahrain or at China. I can't remember which one though exactly, guys. If you guys want to find out though which race he did take the win at, don't forget to go back to the start of the video and click those annotations. I will also be leaving them at the end of the video as well, to episode 2 and episode 3. But Nico Rosberg takes home a 1-2 for Mercedes, as we got Sebastian Vettel rounding out the podium. Ferrari starting to look like they could still win a couple more races, after obviously they took that win at Australia at the first round of the season. But since then it's kind of not been as successful for them. I think they kind of understood that it wasn't going to set the tone for the season for those guys. But Nico Rosberg takes home another great win, obviously looking like he might be able to try and make a stand for the championship in 2016, but obviously we'll have to wait and see. As we now look down overall at the grid, as we can see, it was basically Noah's Ark for the first 6. We saw Williams there get 5th and 6th place there, with Kimi Räikkönen just missing out the podium. My ex-teammate Sergio Perez there in P7, with Fernando Alonso scoring some good points for McLaren Honda, with Max Verstappen in P9. We got a very, very poor day out for him in the end. Nico Hulkenberg in 10th, scoring one solitary point for the Force India team there. Jenson Button in P11, but Daniel Ricciardo there after 2 stop that Grand Prix. He was looking very, very strong in the early stages of the race, so not really too sure what happened to him, whether he had a crash with someone. But P12 there after 2 stops isn't exactly too bad for him. But having a look further down the grid now, guys, obviously it's basically just going to be the backmarker cars of obviously myself, the Renaults, the Haas, and a couple more drivers that, you know, we might be a little bit surprised. We'll have to wait and see about that. But just having a look at the top there, I think Nico Rosberg might have actually inherited the lead of the championship standings, as he went from P4 to the P1 there. But just having a look further down now, there we are, Danny Kvyat P13 at his home race, Pascal Wehrlein 14th, Ria Haryanto 15th, Julian Palmer 16th, myself 17th, Esteban Gutierrez 18th, Kevin Magnussen 19th, and obviously we saw those 3 retirements. We saw the 3 retirements there as well, which means we have actually jumped. We will have scored some points against Roman Grosjean there on the championship battle. But as we can see now, we're still holding on to P8 overall in the standings with our 4 points there. Toro Rosso, Mana and Renault still unable to score, as we see Force India overtake McLaren Honda there as well, after they get a good double point score there, as I think McLaren only took home 4 points there, with Fernando Alonso's P8 overall there. But having a look now, how many R&D points have we been able to gain from that Grand Prix? We're going to be well over 200 points here. 224 points after we took 110 from that race. But having a look at the rivalry, we're going to be able to score a lot of points over Roman Grosjean. Obviously, he had that crash very early on. So we're leading 10-7, obviously, after that pretty poor qualifying from myself. I really want to be able to get back into Q2 and a lot more sessions in the next few Grand Prix, guys. We've actually got an interesting contract event here. Now, what is this all about? We're actually going to be able to get P1 there in the team, so that is very, very good for myself. But anyway, guys, if you have enjoyed episode 4 of my F1 2016 Sauber career mode, don't forget to like, subscribe. If you haven't, as I said, guys, make sure you go have a look at the other races. We've had some very, very good racing, a lot of action in these first opening rounds of the season. But I will see you guys next time out at the Spanish Grand Prix. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.